Following the global financial crisis, we at Bain have come to a view that there is a return to corporate strategy demanded in banking. That return to corporate strategy requires banks to address some quite fundamental questions around what they stand for, where they're going, importantly where they're going to compete and how they're going to compete. If you think about the period leading up to the global financial crisis, the reality is that, with all due respect to the operators back then, it was a relatively straightforward business where growth ruled the day. We had economies coming on stream in China, Russia and India on a global basis, and the developed world was expanding very, very rapidly. Banks were able to, on the back of both credit growth and also pricing power in terms of fee income, expand the top line very, very rapidly. At the same time, the relatively fixed cost nature of their businesses meant that the margins were expanding as volume grew dramatically. And it wasn't just a P&L perspective that you could take at that point. They became more and more adept at alternative funding sources and levering the balance sheet with minimal capital. So the overall returns on equity were very, very, very attractive prior to the global financial crisis. So you had growth and you had very attractive ROEs, where on average in the 5 years leading up to 2007, the ROE was about 16 or 17% versus a 10 or 11% cost of capital for the banks on a global basis. That came to a shuddering halt in 2007, 2008. And if you look at the period subsequently to that, then actually the ROEs have collapsed by some 6% on average on a global basis. They're down at 10 or 11% now globally and marginally above the cost of capital. And in many markets, you've got whole industries operating below that cost of capital. And why has that happened? Well, we've had a dramatic reduction in the demand for credit, and therefore the interest, the revenue side of the P&L has been hit quite dramatically. And at the same time, they've lost a lot of their pricing power that they had around fee income as consumers and businesses have struggled and become more demanding. So revenue has been crunched, and at the same time, those costs that were fixed on the way up are sticky on the way down. So you've got an overall margin compression on the P&L side. But importantly as well, we've got liquidity ratio requirements, we've got stable funding ratio requirements, and we've got new capital requirements, which have severely constrained what they can do with their balance sheets and how much they can leverage them. So you've now got a situation of far lower growth and dramatically constrained returns on equity. And it's in that environment where funding and capital are more constrained and where, if you like, mistakes are not so easily forgiven by growing out of a problem or selling a problem to someone else, that banks have to make choices. They have to fundamentally decide what they stand for and where they're going to compete, be it on a national basis, a regional basis. They have to decide which segments they're going to target, and they have to decide, frankly, which product lines they're going to operate in. So where to compete becomes very, very important as well. And importantly, how to compete. Are they going to be a cost leader? Are they going to be a digital leader? Are they going to be a customer service-oriented organization? There's some very fundamental questions that all hang together that banks have to address and will have to address more rigorously in the next 10 years than they did in the prior 25 years. The return to corporate strategy in banking is nigh, and we believe this is a muscle that they have to work on.